Joe Biden's campaign is in big trouble. He is in big trouble. He's run out of money. And in a frantic effort to save his candidacy, he has now opened his campaign up to PAC money. His deputy campaign manager, she said, those who are dedicated to defeating Donald Trump are organizing in every way permitted by current law. So what she's doing here is publicly signaling to everyone that, yes, we are open to super PAC money. Bring it in, baby. Come on home. Just give us the cash. Why? I'll tell you why. Last quarter, we saw how much money every Democratic candidate raised. And Joe Biden did terrible. He came in fourth place with about $15 million. And as a front runner, the fact that he came in fourth place is bad in itself. But not only that, he raised less than he did in the second quarter. So his figures have been going down. This is very bad. This is the front runner? Yeah, sure. Anyway, the problem is this guy, he did about 40 private fundraisers in the third quarter. Okay? He's going around to these fancy dinner parties and kissing rich people's asses so they can give him the $2,800. But he's tapped out. He's tapped out. Even by doing 40 private fundraisers, all he managed to get was $50 million. And by the way, after accounting for all expenses, I think he was left with $9 million cash on hand. Oh, dude, this is not good. This is not good for any candidate. Never mind a frontrunner. So Joe Biden's candidacy is in trouble. He's tapped out all his rich donors from the private fundraisers. He has no grassroots support. I mean, come on, man. Forget about it. Who is he appealing to?
Folks, you hear the news. Once again, Putin and the Russians are trying to engage in our elections and decide who the president's going to be. He's a bully, just like the president. Mr. Putin, the American people decide their elections, not you.
45% of young voters go with Bernie Sanders, okay? They ain't going for this schmuck. He's got no avenue left with the private fundraisers. He's got no avenue to begin with grassroots donations. So what does he have left? I'm going to take the PAC money. So even though he swore off PAC money originally, it was a self-imposed limit because, again, all these candidates are trying to imitate Bernie because they saw the power of his campaign in 2016. So he's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to take any PAC money. I'm cool, right? I'm like Bernie. And now look what he has to do. He has to prostitute himself to the corporations once again.
See, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself.
All right, because what happens here, when you take that PAC money, when you set up a PAC, you can take unlimited amounts of money, right? Because Citizens United states that corporations are people, and Buckley versus Vallejo says that money is a form of speech. Therefore, there are no limits on speech, and you can give unlimited amounts of money. The law is really funny, you know, when you twist it the right way and you have the money to do so. So anyway, Biden's full of shit. So this is all that Biden can do right now. Okay, he's trying to save a sinking ship. And I have to laugh. It really is funny. It really is funny. This is what you get, man. When you don't have a true grassroots movement because you're a corporate hack who doesn't represent working class people, this is what you get. Okay? And it's very funny, the reasoning and the rationale behind it. What do they say? Look at this campaign statement. Those who are dedicated to defeating Donald Trump are organizing in every way permitted by current law. Well, first of all, I mean, the law is corrupt. So if you are claiming that you are above that and you are going to change things and you are such an amazing candidate, then it doesn't matter what the law says. Bernie Sanders also knows that he could set up a super PAC, but he doesn't because he runs his campaign based on the conviction that corporate money is bad. So screw the current law. The point here is that they're trying to justify this by saying, oh, we need to defeat Donald Trump. As usual, right? I mean, half the candidates are running on that message alone. They have no policies to offer. Oh, we need to defeat Donald Trump. Dude, let me put this into perspective for you, okay? In 2016, Hillary Clinton raised twice as much as Donald Trump did. Did she win the election? I'll wait. No, she didn't. Okay? It was a disaster. It doesn't matter how much money you raise. So this argument that, oh, I have to outraise Donald Trump because he is like using the law to the maximum of his interest and I have to do the same. No, you don't. You don't have to be a corporate piece of crap. You don't have to do that. You don't have to run, Joe. That's literally what Obama told you. You don't have to do this. So this argument that, oh, well, Donald Trump is using the corrupt finance system that we have to run for office, so I have to do it too. because no one's donating to my campaign because I suck ass. This is Joe Biden summarized, and it's really funny. And by the way, just for the figures, if you want the figures, Hillary Clinton raised $581 million during the last election. Donald Trump raised $340, so almost half. And he beat her. So this argument that you need to raise money in the same corrupt way as Trump is garbage. Forget that. I mean, this is just emblematic of what we have in this election. We have centrists who claim to be like Bernie Sanders and that they are a better version of Bernie Sanders, that they have better policies, but then they default right back to the same old corporate ways of running an election, running for office. The same corrupt business, the same monkey business, always. Every single one of them. Bernie's campaign manager, Faiz Shakir, man, he took a great jab at Biden. I'm going to read it to you. It's wonderful. He burned him for this. Okay. He said, Joe Biden has spent his campaign promising elite donors that nothing will fundamentally change for them. And he has made clear to fossil fuel and pharmaceutical donors that he will be their ally. As a result, he has had trouble generating significant grassroots support from Americans who are getting crushed by those same big donors. And so his supporters are suddenly begging for help from super PACs, even though they are vehicles for the kind of corporate corruption that Democrats should be fighting to stop. Let's be clear. Super PACs exist for one reason and one reason only: to help billionaires and corporations bankroll a presidential campaign with unlimited amounts of money in exchange for favors. Every Democratic candidate should forcefully reject any help from super PACs, and they should tell their supporters and surrogates to stop engaging with super PACs that aim to buy elections and undermine our democracy. Perfect, amazing statement, straight to the point. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's also taking a jab at Andrew Yang. Okay, because I covered this in the last video, which the Yang gang went apeshit about. They went bananas. This math pack that has suddenly popped out of nowhere with millions of dollars to work in Andrew Yang's interest, he laughed at it. He shrugged it off like it was some lemonade stand.
I know very little about the math pack, genuinely.
No, you need to be very, very critical and completely denounce them. I mean, I'm more passionate about denouncing them than you are. So Jesus Christ, I mean, who has the stronger convictions here? Okay? And it's exactly what Faiz Shakir, Bernie's campaign manager, is saying. Every Democratic candidate should forcefully reject any help from super PACs. Forcefully reject, not laugh it off. Those are two completely different things, not a nuance. So what Biden here is doing is undermining the whole point of a clean election, of a democracy, is that he's engaging in corruption. And, it's very funny because another statement from his campaign is that while other candidates have groups supporting their efforts, no other Democrat has to fight this two-front war. So what he's referring to is this whole Ukraine scandal, right? That with Hunter Biden, with his son sitting on that Ukrainian gas company board and being paid $50,000 a month. Well, it's very easy not to fight a two-front war. Don't be corrupt in the first place. Then you won't have corruption allegations against you. Jesus Christ. Do you think Bernie Sanders has to deal with stuff like this? No, because he's not corrupt. There's nothing there to even make a story out of. And they're calling out my corruption ad, boy. Can't have them doing that. That's rather no-go. And at the same time, I'm dealing with the elections. So I have to be corrupt. I can't help it. It's in my nature, ad, boy. I mean, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? That's not a justification. Forget it. Forget it. Is this a surprise? Is this a surprise to anyone? I'll be honest with you. I was surprised he wasn't taking the super PAC money in the first place. I really was. I was like, wait a second, he's not? Oh, yeah, well, of course he's not. His figures last quarter, of course. And by the way, this is very funny. Elizabeth Warren also chimed in about this recent development regarding Joe Biden. And look at what she has to say, all right? It's disappointing that any Democratic candidate would reverse course and endorse the use of unlimited contributions from the wealthy to run against fellow Democrats. A handful of wealthy donors should not be allowed to buy the Democratic nomination. That's not who we are. Man, I'm trying so hard not to laugh while I read this to you. I mean, the hypocrisy here is truly astounding. What she's saying is basically, a handful of wealthy donors should not be allowed to buy the Democratic nomination, but they should be allowed to buy the general election. Man, I mean, she's trying to portray herself as holier than thou. And, I don't take corporate money. Listen. We know that you were taking corporate money in your Senate bid in 2018, and you funneled $10 million into your presidential campaign. So already you've poisoned the well. Your campaign is already contaminated with corporate money. Not to mention that she has said and stated very clearly that she will take corporate money for the Democratic Party if she gets the nomination. So she has no problem with allowing corporations to continue to buy the elections and influence politics as long as she has secured the nomination. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, right? And by the way, as I've said before, it's even worse. So she says, I won't take corporate money in the general for myself, but I will take it for the party where there are no limits on how much you can donate. I mean, come on, man. This is why I love Bernie Sanders' anti-corruption plan, because he states clearly in that if he gets the nomination, no more corporate checks for the Democratic Party. Not just himself. The whole party is off that corporate money. So her using this recent development about Joe Biden taking PAC money to portray herself as better than him and holy and, untouched by the corrupting influence of corporate money is a real goddamn joke. What a joke. This is Elizabeth Warren's talent. She deceives people. She lies to them. She's playing a role. It is a bunch of theater. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors to lie to people, to deceive them. And man, unfortunately, it's working on a few. So Joe Biden is in trouble. And honestly, we keep seeing that he has high numbers in the polls. But you look at who's being polled, and believe me, it ain't millennials. It's people over 55. I mean, they might as well be using rotary phones and pigeons to be getting those numbers, all right? This guy can't even get 300 people to a rally. You're telling me he's polling at 30% and he's a front runner? Yeah, my ass. All right, my ass.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Who knows how the election could develop? Who knows what could happen? But this is a bad sign for any candidate, and another reason why Joe Biden shouldn't be considered for anything to do with the Democratic Party. Forget it. Just go, man. You are another corporate shill, and the Democrats ran a corporate shill in 2016, and look how that turned out.